Look at this, middle of January, man. It's freezing out there. Hey, hello everybody. Alexa, what's the weather like in Chicago right now?
Currently, in Chicago, Illinois, it's 2 degrees with intermittent clouds. Today, you can expect cold temperatures with a high of 11 degrees and a low of 0 degrees.
It's freezing out there. It's freezing. It's Chicago. Thank God I'm not working this week. Staying in, keeping warm. But the stovetop is still hot. I mean, last week I made a video about Yu Darvish leaving for the Cubs, and guess what? Nobody signed him. He's still not on the table for the Cubs. Looks like he's backing out of that deal. But the hot topic now is Jake Arrieta possibly wanting to go with the Cubs again or the Cardinals. So in my opinion, if I'm Jake Arrieta, I just go back with the Cubs. I take the 4 years, $125 million, $110 million, whatever they're going to offer him. I mean, home is where the heart is, man. I mean, you won a World Series there. You won a Cy Young. It'd be really dumb for you to leave the Chicago Cubs for what? To squabble over a couple years? To be honest with you, I think you're going down in as far as your velocity goes. So even if the Cubs sign you at 4, they're still taking a risk on Jake Arrieta. So I hope we get a starter, because I forgot to tell you, we lost Wade Davis to the Colorado Rockies. That guy signed a fat contract, signed a $52 million contract. It's probably one of the most valuable contracts signed by a reliever. To be honest with you, I did like Wade Davis, but for that money, he can go packing. I think that he's a guy that, you know, he was good, but he wasn't as good as advertised. Yeah, he had his clutch moments last year, and he closed the door on the games we needed him to close the door on. But the Cubs weren't that good, in my opinion, and when they got to him, sometimes he'd get up there and he'd be a little shaky. So he wasn't always lights out. And I know that for a fact because I watched every damn game, or I watched almost 95% of the games last year. And as far as I'm concerned, the Cubs do need to get another closer. I wouldn't feel comfortable with them going for Brandon Morrow. So here we are, January 5th. Oh, shout out, happy birthday to Chris Bryant. Today is Chris Bryant's birthday. He's a young stud. He should have a big year. And the bigger the year, the better, because next year, Bryce Harper is going to go for free agency, and the Cubs look like they're going to be wanting to be a part of it. I think if Chris Bryant has a monster year, you know, his buddy, Bryce Hypester, I said I was going to start calling him the Hypester, he'd probably want to come to the Cubs even more so because, you know, these guys are coming into their own. They're starting to really get good, you know, really mature into their positions. So there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of talk this winter. You know, there was that talk about Manny Machado being traded to the Cubs, sending Ian Happ, Addison Russell over to Baltimore, even with Almora. But to be honest with you, those are trades you just don't make. You got to let this thing play out. The kid I like is that kid from Florida, Yelich. I think he'd be a great addition to the Cubs. I'd be willing to trade Almora for that kid. And simply based on the fact that, you know, Almora is a fan favorite probably in Florida because he's born and raised out there. He's he's a home product out there. I like Almora, but I think this Yelich, whatever his name is, has a lot more upside than Almora. I think he could do the job in center field, but I think his hitting is what is going to separate him. That kid is an all-star. That kid's going to just blossom into something humongous, and I'm talking about Yelich. Not Almora. Almora is going to be a good, serviceable player, and you know if he really puts it together, yeah, he possibly can be an all-star as far as his fielding goes. But as far as the hitting goes, I think he's just going to be a solid 285, 290 hitter. Not even. I'd have to go down to 270, 265 on him, and that's a good year for him. But like I said, all this is speculation. He hasn't really had enough time to mature. He hasn't really had enough time to play the position the way he should. But back to the subject at hand, who is Jake Arrieta going to sign with? Let's put this Yu Darvish stuff off the table now. You know, I threw that out there because it sounded really good. It sounded like that was the direction that the Cubs were going towards. But to be honest with you, everything changes. Everything changes in a snap second. And the thing is that Jake Arrieta, in my opinion, he wants to come back to the Cubs. He wants to be a little stubborn. He wants to hold out for that money. But at the end of the day, the guy's a competitor. At the end of the day, he's a Cub at heart. Because this is where he found his mojo. The Chicago Cubs organization brought him in, let him be himself. He developed into this extraordinary pitcher. Now he's on the cusp of being a legend. And why would you want to go somewhere and reinvent yourself? And the reality is, Cubs are taking a chance. Cubs are taking a gamble. We have to sign our studs. We're going to have to worry about guys like Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, the young guns like what's it, Addison Russell. We got contracts. We got obligations, and we can't start spending this money on people that aren't going to give us the production that we need. As far as Kyle Schwarber goes, it's a wait and see. The organization still wants to see what he can do. I think that if he comes out swinging this year and he really starts producing, then everything changes. That doesn't mean he's not tradable. It just means wow, we have a trade piece that can probably get us some better players. And the reality of it is that we have a set infield, and I believe that either Zorbis will get traded or he'll just play his contract out. But as far as I'm concerned, he's not a frontline player anymore. He's gotten long in the tooth. He's a great attitude guy. He's a good guy. Come off the bench. Let him be what he was, a utility player. His time in the sun is over where he was a starter. I think that, his best years are probably behind him. I mean, don't tell that to him because, he ain't going to believe you. But based on his production, based on the injuries that he's started to sustain in the last year, how much upside is left. I always hope for the best. I want to see my team compete. I want to see my team dominate. I want to see my team kick some ass. As far as 2018, guess what? Cubs are gonna do it. Cubs are gonna play strong within the division. They have a lot of interdivisional games, and that's another reason you don't give Jake Arrieta up. We have to be strong. If we are a strong team, we will take this division. Because in my opinion, the Brewers didn't get any better. The Cardinals are right at a little bit at mediocre or just a little bit better than mediocre. Cincinnati is always a work in progress. They just never really have recovered. They don't really have the talent to go to the next level at this moment. I mean, they're working on it, they're developing it, but it's not happening. Pittsburgh also is another team that, to me, they have the talent, but they just don't have that oomph. They can't get over the hump. I think the Cubs are where the Cardinals were 5 years ago psychologically over the division, where you kind of know who is the best team in the division, and that team would be the Cubs, in my opinion. Even the Cardinals know that the Cubs are better than them. So as far as I'm concerned, the Cardinals are the ones that are coming in trying to prove that they're just as competitive, if not better than the Cubs. And I'll tell you something right now. I just think that the Cubs have that mental edge over the Cardinals because of the World Series and because of what we've done in the last 3 years. And, their players are also getting long in the tooth. I mean, it was a slap in their face when they lost Lackey to the Cubs. Well, it was not so much Lackey, but when Jason Hayward chose to come to the Cubs. Jason Hayward hasn't been, off the charts as far as batting goes. But when it comes to his defense, the guy's won Gold Gloves. The guy's stellar in the outfield. The way things are looking, I'm thinking the Cubs might switch him over to center field. And the thing is, the Cubs are going to be a different animal in 2018. There's a lot of things that I'm starting to see, a lot of directions the Cubs are going to be taking that aren't going to be the regular. As you know, you have Joe Madden. He's always doing that little bit extra, that little bit different move. And you're definitely going to see that this year. I don't think that we've addressed our issues with the leadoff hitter. He was banding about bringing Kyle Schwarber back into the mix of that. No, don't do that. The guy can't do it. I think he's more of a cleanup hitter. He's got a lot of power. You got to have a guy like that down in the lineup. Like I said, bring in another hitter. Bring in a guy like I said, Yelich from Florida. And if that doesn't happen, then you're gonna have to decide who you're gonna put up there in that top spot. And you got too many sluggers to be put in that top spot. So that's something I don't even want to speculate on. I'm gonna leave that to Joe Madden. I'm gonna let the season play out. We have a lot of trades still going on. We have a lot of things that we haven't decided. So Cub fans, it's January. I'm freezing my nads out here in this weather, but I'm waiting for Cub baseball to start. And as soon as any information breaks, I'll be making a special video cast as soon as possible. And we're going to see what direction that takes the Cubs. I mean, let's be honest. If we get Jake Arrieta, we're not any worse for the wear. I think that he's been on our team. We do love Chicago Cubs. They love Jake Arrieta. It'd be great to have him back on the team. If he doesn't sign with us, then we'll be okay. Only because we know that Jake might not be the Jake that he was of 2015. And the reality is, this is a business. The reality is that you have to have the top horses there to compete. I mean, we got a good starting pitching rotation, and we have a pretty decent middle relief core now. But the thing is, like now, because Wade Davis left, we really have to address the closer situation. I mean, I'm not sold on Brandon Morrow being our closer. I look at him more as a setup guy. But I can be wrong. I have been wrong. And as far as the Cubs go, I hope that they're right. But you never know. The Cubs always find that serviceable pitcher to bring back into the fold. I know that they're not done picking up players. And January is still shaping up to be a big trade month or a big acquisition month for the Cubs. So stay tuned, Cub fans. See you guys at the top on the other side of success. Go Cubs in 2018. See you at the Cub Convention. Ciao.